Hi, I'm Michael Fraser, and you can read my poems at thewalrus.ca. However, tonight it is an unequal pleasure to introduce Chim Undi. I first encountered Chim's poetry in my role as an editor at large for the Best Canadian Poetry Series. And within 2 or 3 lines of her poem, Vote Open, I immediately knew that I was in the presence of a remarkable talent. Here are 3 lines from the poem. I too have felt August in my body, like the town empties, reassembles slightly left of itself, sweeter smelling for it. Winter expands, and it starts at my ankles. How incredible are those lines? And the poem is just filled with lines like that. Just remarkable stuff. Chim Undi lives on Treaty 1 territory in Winnipeg, Manitoba. Her work has appeared on stages at the Canadian Festival of Spoken Word and the Edinburgh International Book Festival. She's been published in numerous journals, including Room Magazine, ARC, and the Humber Literary Review. She's a poetry editor at CV2 Magazine, and if that wasn't enough accomplishment for one person, she completed a law degree at the University of Manitoba in 2020. Here is the diligent and wonderfully talented Chim Undi.
Thanks, Michael. My name is Chimwemwe Undi, and I'm reading on the imminent destruction of Portage Place Mall. Not a bomb, but leveled, still, unhealing, listless or lacking inventory, shortly nothing, shortly unmade, harkening back to blondes on VHS, stockings named for favored subset of flesh. Glitter rides the escalator's churn. Jingle dirges in the backlight, specter, backlight blue, geometrical, impossible. This edifice, the biggest thing to hit the city since the flood. Flood displaced in meaning by a bigger flood. Mall displaced in meaning by the flood of us. Flood again, toxic metaphor, begat by bordering, by black and brownness, by bodies, blued, bluing, made buoyant, by the mass of us, liquid in our number. To be sure, us does not mean this keen city, nostalgic amnesiac, supplicant lustrated in silted water, 10 tented fingers, breaks for wagging. Us means something like my people, connotes a buoyant mass, joyous noise, gestures to uncle strangers in the food court, stuffing ears with courage, lies. In Dollarama, Auntie compliments my accent, offers me her son, strained plaid, polyester, Portage Place First Nation, which D says to mean something like my people. People made a demographic, disappeared from municipal imagination, struck like noon, inside exit doors locked into its exterior walls. Before unmaking, return again to the blueness of the light, gossamer and permanent, to the trees indoors at that, a rube's early wonder, to these planters built for sitting, uniformed men imported from the suburbs to tell us not to sit, to the clock's bright mechanics, spiral torsions only visible coming down the escalator. Blunt blade also promised better things. The trouble is how to build it. The blue unmade amidst mist and wind and unhurried anarchy. How to conjure house and universe. Even dexterous in this new split tongue, I am full of all the wrong language. Full of little but language. Lungs full of elsewhere's smoke. I am helpless before what can't be helped. Mouth busied retuning the questions. What beautiful thing has ever left me and returned? What else in the middle distance is burning? Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sadiqa de Meyer, and you can find a couple of my poems on the Walrus website. But today it is my pleasure to introduce fellow poet Otoniya Okot Bitek. Otoniya is an Acholi poet. Her book 100 Days won the 2017 Indie Fab Book of the Year Award for Poetry and the Glenna Luce Prize for African Poetry. It was also a finalist for the 2017 BC Book Prize and the Pat Lowther Award. Otoniya has been a poetry ambassador for the City of Vancouver and was the 2020 Ellen and Warren Tolman Writer-in-Residence at Simon Fraser University. Her most recent work is the chapbook Gauntlet, on which David Chariandi comments, Gauntlet seizes the power of the marginalized, casting the footnote as the bearer of luminous meaning, and inviting the eye and heart alike into a vital new practice of reading.
My name is Julianne Okot Bitek. I am a poet. The poem I'm going to read for you today is part of a series of poems called There's Something About. And I wrote it this summer, thinking about the context in which we are living. So I'll just get to it. There's something about the thick sludge of time today, something undulating, something uncompromising, something tight. Something about lethargy, about sadness like a constant keen, about heartbreak, about death, about illness, about sorrow. And there'll always be something unforgiving about knees as weapons 8 minutes long, about mothers, about ancestors, about prayer. Something about kneeling afterwards as political supplication. All striped, all masked, all ideology, all heads bowed, all draped with kente, kente, kente cloth. We love Black people. We love Black people. We love Black people today. There's something about kneeling that's not to be confused with kneeling as weakness, kneeling as service, kneeling as caste, as work, as being, as fervor, kneeling like the mother of God, like the girlfriend of the mother of God, like the girlfriend of God at the base of the cross in tears, in prayers, in defiance of the armed ones who man the stage, because there's a chance that crossed men could step off, go off, shoot up, kill, maim, because fear of their lives, because protection of property, because rights, because rights, because rights, because rights. There's something about the tennis player who tells it, I will not play, I will not play, I will not play, I will not play tennis, play games, play nice, play time, play power, play bets, play escape, play white skirts and upper arm strength. I will not play ball. There's something about the spin of the curve, the speed of the ball, skimming the nets, something about nets, about fish, about oceans, about ships, about continental seaboards and statues at the harbor at City Hall. There's something about today that's likely to be forgotten. Something about memory like a paw, memory like fishnet stockings, torn at the knee of the girl with a bruised face who will not talk about it, although no one will ask her. There's something about the yoursness in the body of another, something about a knee, an afro, a power fist, a claim, a fatal moment. There's something about rejection, about the refusal to name, something about the call in the role that claims us all in this moment that we will all but forget. Thank you.
This is Armand Garnet Ruffo here in Kingston on this chilly morning, and I am here to introduce Brandon Wint. I first met Brandon, a couple years ago now. He was actually taking one of my poetry courses at Queen's University, and then I ran into him in Hamilton a few years ago when I was doing a reading, and I followed Brandon's career, and I've listened to his poems online. And one of the things I wanted to say, there's a line from one of his poems where he says, thick, dark gems of sap. And I was thinking of the lushness of his writing. And it got me thinking about John Coltrane's lush life. And I thought, yes, that's where Brandon's poetry is coming from, this lush life. And on that note, I say, Brandon, keep going.
Good evening, all. As you know by now, my name is Brandon Wint. It's a pleasure to join you, pleasure to be here this evening. Yeah, I'm so happy, so happy that we could create a context for such a robust conversation about, the nature of the poetry that needs to be spoken and written and disseminated right now, although that spectrum is wide. The poem that I want to share with you today comes from a book that I just recently put out called Divine Animal. The poem is called Antidote, and hopefully it speaks for itself. In my worst hours, I auction this dark cathedral of flesh, test the angle of my spine against casket pillows. I do not want to leave, but headlines crush me. A massive wildfire is burning in Manchester, Riverside, Prince George, Australia. A scientist curses, burns a globe on TV, and the metaphor scorches my heel. I think my skull a solarium for a single roving flame. My oldest friend cautions me against despair, self-pity, tells me to resist, write a poem, says, there is still so much to do here. Let me sink my hands in lavender, stretch my naked limbs before a mirror, let sunlight kiss my eyelids. When I go, let it not be with my head bound in newsprint, apocalypse, and ink stinging my eyes. When the soil calls, let me go a burning planet of my own, hearth of spired bones, sacrament to the earth that held me.